What if the most dangerous form of anxiety isn't the one that makes your heart race, but the one that quietly shapes your thoughts, your habits, and even your identity without you realizing it? In this soul-stirring journey, we're uncovering the hidden truth about anxiety's silent warning signs, the subtle signals you've likely ignored, normalized, or even mistaken for personality traits. By the end of this video, you'll discover how chronic tiredness, overthinking, emotional numbness, and even constant busyness might not be random, but silent cries from within. Stay with us, because what you're about to learn could change how you see yourself and set you on a path toward real healing. Now, let's dig in. Anxiety doesn't always arrive like a storm. Sometimes, it whispers. It creeps in through the cracks of your everyday life, through small moments, subtle habits, and unspoken thoughts. And because it's quiet, we miss it. We dismiss it. We even normalize it, unknowingly inviting it to stay longer than it should. You see, anxiety isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with panic attacks or heart palpitations. The world has taught us to only recognize it when it's disruptive, when it knocks you to your knees in a boardroom or leaves you gasping for air in your bedroom at night. But what if the most dangerous form of anxiety isn't the one that roars, but the one that whispers so softly you don't hear it until it has rearranged your entire life? Now, let's talk about the silent, often overlooked signs of anxiety, the silent cries for help that you or someone close to you may have already mistaken for just being tired, just being shy, or just needing a break. They are 1. The exhaustion that never leaves. You sleep for 8 hours. Maybe 9. You take breaks. You slow down. But still, you feel tired. Not just physically, but soul tired. That kind of fatigue that makes even the smallest task feel monumental. You begin to believe you're just lazy. But what if that persistent tiredness isn't laziness or physical fatigue, but mental overuse? Anxiety often runs in the background like a silent app draining your emotional battery. Even when you're not doing anything outwardly stressful, your mind is constantly scanning, worrying, rehearsing conversations, predicting failure, fearing judgment. The tension becomes a full-time job for your body and brain, and you're paying for it in exhaustion. The next silent trigger of anxiety is 2. Overthinking disguised as productivity. We applaud overthinking in the name of planning. We call it being thorough, careful, or prepared. But here's the truth: when your brain can't rest until you've considered every possible outcome, and then reconsiders them again just in case, that's not a strategy. That's anxiety dressed in ambition. You overanalyze every word you said, every look someone gave you, every email you sent. You replay yesterday's moments like a looped film reel, searching for invisible errors, ghost offenses. You tell yourself you're just detail-oriented. But deep down, you're afraid of being wrong, being misunderstood, being not enough. Anxiety doesn't always scream "I'm scared." Sometimes it just says, maybe if I think this through one more time, I'll finally feel safe. The next hidden signs of anxiety is 3. The need for control in the smallest things. Have you ever found yourself extremely upset when plans change? Or irritated when someone loads the dishwasher wrong? It may seem minor, or even humorous. But for someone with quiet anxiety, it's not about the dishes. It's about predictability. When life feels unpredictable inside, when thoughts feel messy and fears feel unmanageable, people try to control what they can outside. The dinner schedule. The route to work. The tone in a text message. This need for order becomes a comfort blanket. A shield. But what happens when life won't obey your control? You gyrate. Not because of the event, but because your anxiety has convinced you that the only way to survive is to make sure everything goes exactly as planned. The next hidden sign is 4. Emotional insensitivity mistaken for strength. One of anxiety's cruelest ironies is how it convinces people to disconnect from their own feelings as a form of survival. They often say, if you don't feel, you can't be hurt. If you are fine, nothing can unravel you. So, you become a master of self-denial. You smile through heartbreak. You function through grief. You laugh to fill silences that scare you. You become numb, not because you don't feel, but because you're afraid of what might happen if you let yourself feel fully. The sadness might pull you under. The anger might erupt. The vulnerability might invite rejection. But numbness isn't strength. It's the quiet freeze of anxiety saying, "Don't go there, it's not safe." 5. Constantly being busy to avoid stillness. Stillness is a mirror. It reflects the truths we try to avoid. So what do many anxious souls do? They stay busy. Chronically busy. Productivity becomes their painkiller. Distraction becomes their escape. You pack your schedule. You multitask. You answer emails while eating, scroll while watching TV, clean while on the phone. Because the moment you stop, you feel. And what's waiting in that silence? Thoughts. Fears. Guilt. Memories. The truth. So you keep moving, keep doing, keep escaping. But there comes a point when the body rebels, when the soul begins to ache from running away too long. The next warning sign, perhaps the quietest warning sign of all, is the smile, that is. 6. The smiling mask that hides inner chaos. So many people with high-functioning anxiety wear a mask so well, even their closest friends don't see the cracks. They show up. They perform. They encourage others, support others, and make people laugh. And yet, they're disintegrating quietly on the inside of them. They suffer in silence because they fear being seen as weak. Because no one expects the strong friend to fall apart. Because they've made an identity out of being dependable, cheerful, unshakable. But the truth is, even the strongest ones are breaking. Just behind closed doors. Behind that smile, there's often a deep cry for someone, anyone, to notice the unspoken weariness in their eyes. In summary, the untold reality is that many people live with anxiety for years without knowing it. Because it doesn't look like the textbook version. Their version doesn't include panic attacks or breakdowns. Because their symptoms have become so woven into their identity, they can't separate themselves from the anxiety. "I've always been this way," they say. Hypervigilant. People-pleasing. Apologizing for everything. Avoiding conflict. They think it's just their personality. But what if that personality was actually a defense mechanism formed in response to invisible fear? Undiagnosed anxiety is a silent prison. And the scariest part? You may not even realize you're a prisoner. So if you've read this and felt a quiet tug in your chest, listen. Listen when your body is constantly tense. Listen when your mind refuses to rest. Listen when the silence becomes scary. These are not just quirks or bad habits. They might be your soul whispering for help. For peace. For release. Don't wait for anxiety to scream. Pay attention to its whispers. Because the silent signs are often the most dangerous, the ones we live with, adjust to, and build lives around, until we wake up one day not recognizing who we are beneath the weight of it all. Healing begins with honesty. And sometimes, the most courageous thing you can do is admit that something doesn't feel right, even if you can't yet name what it is. So ask yourself, what have you been calling normal, that might actually be anxiety in disguise? If this message spoke to something deep inside you, or helped you see anxiety in a way you never have before, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who might be silently struggling too. And if you're drawn to raw, eye-opening truths like this, subscribe to Untold Realities and turn on notifications. We're uncovering the stories your mind has been waiting to hear, one truth at a time.